Hi, I'm Josh, and I've given myself a fresh new cut in time for increasingly warming weather here in southern Ontario, Canada, and just in time to talk about some punk rock music. Now, this video was a long time coming because I'm talking here about a concert that I attended way back on August 31st, 2024, but I've been so busy trying to keep up with my board gaming and book related videos as well as my 2024 wrap-up videos that I just haven't gotten to it until now, but better late than never. The show took place at the Danforth Music Hall in Toronto, which is a nice little venue. It's a small enough venue that you can be pretty much right up there at the stage or pretty much standing wherever you want to. So definitely way better than these big stadium shows for the big name bands. The headlining band, and the main one I was there to see, was Streetlight Manifesto. I'm going to talk about them in just a second, but I will say that overall the concert as a whole was pretty disappointing because there was only a single opening band. And that band, while they did put on a good show, were not a band that I particularly would enjoy listening to their music for the most part. So the opening band was called the Penske File, who are a fairly local band from Burlington, Ontario. It's a little bit tough to categorize the type of music the Penske File plays. I looked them up online and there was some discussion about how to label them. They don't come across as being really punk rock music. I heard one commenter describe them as poppy, punk adjacent rock or something along those lines. And yeah, they do have a slightly pop punk sound, I suppose, but they're kind of slower, almost more indie rock. I will say though that even if it's not my particular type of music, these guys did put on a really great show. They were super tight and they were really excellent performers. And when this life feels alive, it's about to run away. When mostly turns around, stay the same. Before I move on to the main event, I just want to send out a huge thank you to my Patreon supporters for even allowing me to have an entertainment budget to get out to fun shows like this. Thank you so much, especially to Osmondus Perfect, my top supporter, but all of you really helped to make my life a lot more fun, so cheers. Like I said, the main band I was there to see was Streetlight Manifesto, and they have a very direct connection to a band that I talked about exactly a year ago in March of 2024 called Catch-22. At that point, I had posted a video about seeing them in November of 2023, but I mentioned that it was one of the most disappointing concerts I've ever seen because Catch-22 just put on really terrible performance. And it was probably the worst performance I've seen from a band that, other than the ones I've seen that were blitzed on drugs and alcohol and other things that impaired their performance, but just in terms of a band that seemed to have no excuse other than a lack of practice and a lack of playtime together. It was so disappointing. It sounded so bad. But the reason that Catch-22 is directly connected to Streetlight Manifesto is because Catch-22 were formed way back in 1996, and they were the first kind of really heavy ska-punk band that I really got into in a big way, kind of in that ska-core type of territory, I would say, almost. But Catch-22 was a band I enjoyed a ton. However, in the early 2000s, the lead singer, lead guitarist of Catch-22, and one of the main guys who formed the band left Catch-22, and in 2002 he made a new band called Streetlight Manifesto, along with at least one or two of the members of Catch-22 plus a bunch of other guys. So basically the guy who formed Catch-22 and was the frontman of that band left that band and formed Streetlight Manifesto and is now the frontman of that band. Now, what's funny is when you make a comment on a YouTube video and it ends up kind of blowing up, there is this bass player on YouTube whose channel I enjoy watching. He's gotten into following a bunch of different punk bands, or at least commenting on a lot of different punk songs. And he actually was talking about these bands at one point, and a comment I made on one of his videos, just a kind of silly little comment, is one that he ended up highlighting in one of his videos.
I heard Streetlight Manifesto for the very first time a while back here on the channel, and you guys were very quickly like. So today we're going back to where it all started with Catch-22.
But anyways, like I said, Streetlight Manifesto formed in 2002. They are from New Brunswick, New Jersey in the US, and it was nice to have them up here in Canada. They made their entrance, and I started this show right near the stage, kind of off to stage left. The crowd was obviously super excited to see them, and everybody was immediately getting right into the show. They went through a lot of their hits, including songs that they wrote when they were Catch-22 or when they were part of Catch-22, like songs like their famous Keysby Nights, which is one of their, basically my favorite Catch-22 album is named Keysby Nights after this song. In contrast to the Catch-22 show, which like I said was a terrible performance, Streetlight Manifesto were just amazing, so tight, so awesome. The crowd are right into it, singing along with the songs. Eventually, I left that kind of stage left position and went into the mosh pit to participate in a more active way with the songs, and during some of their slower songs, managed to record a couple of clips from the pit.
Now you make the scene all day.
Even during these slow tunes, though, the crowd was still dancing and grooving and just enjoying the show. Eventually, though, I completely exhausted myself. Felt like I was going to be sick and or die, so I had to move to the back of the venue to enjoy the end of the show from there and catch my breath, what was left of it anyways. And they concluded an amazing show with an amazing finale with Big Sleep, with the crowd singing along. Just such a wonderful experience. So yeah, just an absolute banger of a show. I will say that Streetlight Manifesto's album Somewhere in the Between is my second favorite ska-punk album of all time, next to This Machine by a band called the JB Conspiracy, a band I would love to see live, but they're in the UK and I'm not sure if they really ever get over here to North America, or especially to Canada anyways. So yeah, good times, and looking forward to seeing what bands start showing up now that winter is thawing and we get back to the spring-summer concert season. If you know of any great ska-punk bands I should check out, I'm always on the lookout for bands like that. I just have a thing for heavier ska-punk or ska-core music, and it's a little bit hard to find bands in that particular subgenre of a subgenre, so do let me know any recommendations you have. Otherwise, I'm always interested in hearing what music you're listening to and what you're enjoying, whether it's that particular subgenre or something completely different. Please do let me know, and thanks so much for watching. Cheers. So the headline band's main one that I was there to see is a band called Streetlight Manifesto. I'm going to talk about them in just a second, but the concert took place at the Toronto Music Hall. The headlining band of the show, the main band I was there to see, was called Streetlight Manifesto. The headlining band for the show and what I was there to see was Streetlight Manifesto, and I'm going to talk about them in just a second, but who are a fairly local band called... They don't... Commentator, the guy... So basically, they at stage left and started the... All right, that's that.